How's it Grant here, and welcome to my camera comparison between the Google Pixel 6 Pro and Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. So I've done several camera comparisons with the Pixel 6 Pro as well as the Mi 11 Ultra, so all those comparisons against previous phones will be up on my channel if you're interested. And this will be a very interesting battle. This is the very best of Google, and the Mi 11 Ultra is the top phone for Xiaomi this year with also great camera hardware. They're both featuring 50 megapixel main sensors. The 6 Pro is supposedly sporting Samsung's GN1 sensor. The Mi 11 Ultra supposedly is using the GN2 sensor. Both really large, great camera sensors here. They both have 48 megapixel telephoto lens as well. The 6 Pro has a 4 times optical zoom, and the Mi 11 Ultra has a 5 times periscope optical zoom. And they both have ultra wide angle cameras. The 6 Pro has a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, while the 11 Ultra has a 48 megapixel large ultra wide angle sensor and a much wider field of view than the Pixel 6 Pro. They both have front facing cameras, obviously, with the 6 Pro being upgraded to an 11 megapixel sensor and ultra wide angle camera, which is nice this year. And the Mi 11 Ultra has a 20 megapixel front facing camera with a slightly more cropped in standard wide angle field of view at 27 millimeters. So both really great camera hardware overall. If anything, slight edge to the camera hardware on the Mi 11 Ultra, but Google has always had the edge in its software image processing. So we're going to see how this battle pans out and which one comes out on top. I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions, so you can decide for yourself which of these two camera systems might be best for you. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. So here's some rear video from the Pixel 6 Pro and Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. As you can see here, they're both actively recording here from the rear-facing cameras at 4K 30 frames per second. This is the ultra-wide-angle camera on each to start out with here. So I'll just pan around here so you get a feel for how these ultra-wide-angle cameras compare here. The Mi 11 Ultra, you'll notice already has a wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame than the Pixel 6 can with the ultra-wide. And there's a lot of colors out here, so a lot of blues, greens. You can see some of those fall colors coming in. So lots of colors, so you can compare side by side the color reproduction and how that looks on each of these ultra-wide-angle cameras here in this particular setting. So let's go ahead and move into the main cameras. And here we go with the main cameras on each and how they compare. I'll do the same thing and pan around so you can get a feel for how they compare side by side here in this particular setting with all of these colors. And let's go ahead and pan over here to the right and we'll test zoom out on that cell tower. So we got a 4x telephoto optical zoom on the Pixel 6. You saw it snap in there. And let's move into 5x telephoto optical zoom here on the Mi 11 Ultra as well. You saw it snap in as well. So that's how the telephoto cameras and zoom compare on each. And let's go here and I think we go to a max 15x digital zoom on the Mi 11 Ultra. And we can go to a max 20x digital zoom on the Pixel 6 Pro. So that's how the max digital zoom compares on each. Let's go ahead and back both of these out here. And there we go. Let's go ahead and test autofocus here on the post with the Mi 11 Ultra first. So that snapped in pretty quickly. Really fast focus and refocus here from the Mi 11 Ultra. You can see that really nice shallow depth of field or natural background blur with that large sensor. Now same thing with the Pixel 6 Pro. Really snappy focus and refocus away, and same really nice natural bokeh again with the same similar large sensor. And so let's go ahead and test stabilization. We'll walk down the stairs so you can see side by side how the 4K stabilization looks like here on both these particular phones. And let's start jogging to stress that stabilization out and see how it works. And we'll just stop here and pan up and see how it handles this changing light conditions with that afternoon sunlight. So this will be a front-facing camera test on the Pixel 6 Pro and Mi 11 Ultra. As you can see right there, they are both actively recording from that front-facing camera. The Mi 11 Ultra is recording at 1080p 60 frames per second. That's its highest max resolution and frame rate. Pixel 6 Pro is recording at 4K 30 frames per second, also its max resolution and frame rate as well. And so the Pixel 6 Pro also has a speech enhancement feature which helps block background noise, wind noise, and I have that on right now, so compare the audio and see how that sounds to the Mi 11 Ultra here with that enhancement turned on the Pixel 6. And so obviously I'm outdoors in some pretty even light. It's a pretty cloudy, shaded day, so there's not a lot of harsh light, but it gives you a feel for what this looks like here in a fairly controlled lighting environment outdoors. I'll pan around and give you a feel for how some of the changing light will affect the video quality here and how it compensates. You can see the sun is coming from that direction, so you can see the sky is kind of blown out a little bit, which is pretty natural. Both are doing a pretty good job of keeping me exposed properly. I think Pixel 6 Pro overall is doing a little bit better job of keeping the overall scene exposed as evenly as possible. And if we start walking, we'll test stabilization here to give a feel for what that looks like here side by side on each of these front-facing cameras. And so let me know what you think. The Pixel 6 Pro obviously has that wider field of view, fits more in the frame than the crop here on the Mi 11 Ultra. But let me know what you think about the front-facing cameras and how they compare here. However, so here's some low light video from the Pixel 6 Pro and Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. This is the ultra wide angle lens to start out on each at 4K 30 frames per second. And right off the bat, you'll notice that the Mi 11 Ultra has a much wider field of view, and you fit much more in the frame than the Pixel 6 Pro can with this ultra wide angle lens. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a feel for what these look like here side by side. And we'll go ahead and cut over to the main lens right now. So here we go, the main lens on each of the Pixel 6 Pro and the Mi 11 Ultra here. You'll notice that it's much brighter now because these main lenses obviously taking more light than the ultra wide angle lenses did. I'm just going to pan around and give you a feel for what these look like here. You can see how they handle that really bright street light there. The Mi 11 Ultra is flaring that out a bit more than the Pixel 6 is, but that's to be expected with some pretty bright light here. So let's actually go ahead and pan this way and start walking to test stabilization, as well as to see how they handle a much more difficult lighting situation as it gets much darker the farther we go this way. So also pay attention to the stabilization. It tends to be a little more jerky here, and low light you'll start to see more jitters. That's pretty typical. And as you can see, it's already starting to get much darker here, and both these phones are brightening up the scene more than what I'm seeing with my own eye, and you might see some more noise because of that. And so let's go ahead and pull up right here, and we'll pan up into the night sky. You feel for what that looks like here. There are some clouds, so you can see something in the sky there. You can pick out to see how much definition and detail you can pick out in that sky there with those clouds. And I'll move over here to a more of a mixed light situation where it's dark down this alleyway, but you can see some accent lights here, especially on the building. And you can see how these cameras handle those lights, both doing pretty well. Looks like the Mi 11 Ultra is kind of trying to brighten that up a little bit more, but still controlling those lights fairly decently. So there you go, low light video test in 4K on the Mi 11 Ultra and Pixel 6 Pro. Alright, so here's some low-light video from the front-facing cameras on the Google Pixel 6 Pro and Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. And right off the bat, you'll notice that the Pixel 6 has a much wider field of view, you can fit more in the frame. The Mi 11 Ultra has a much tighter crop, so if you want to be able to fit more in the frame, Pixel 6 Pro might be the way to go. You can also move into a 1.4 times crop here on the Pixel 6 if you want that tighter framing. Let's go ahead and move back out to the wider field of view. Now the Pixel 6 Pro is recording at 4K, which is its max resolution from the front-facing camera, and the Mi 11 Ultra is recording at 1080p, 30 frames per second. That's its max resolution. It can shoot up to 60 frames. I'm keeping this at 30 frames, not just to keep it even, but also because 60 frames will be a little bit darker here in this low light. And so I'll start walking so we can test stabilization, so you can see how both of these front-facing cameras compare side by side here, and we'll also be walking over to a much darker area here so you can see how they handle a much more difficult lighting situation. And I also have the fountain over here to my right, so you can see how it handles that background noise. And just keep in mind that the Pixel 6 Pro does have that speech enhancement feature that is turned on, that helps block out background noise and cancel out wind and all of that. So pay attention to audio and how that compares on the Pixel 6 Pro with speech enhancement turned on versus the audio on the Mi 11 Ultra. And so as we pan this way, you can see how they handle the really bright street lights behind me. And maybe just a tad bit more flare out on the Mi 11 Ultra, but both handling that pretty well here, considering how bright those street lights are. And again, let's move over into this darker area here so you can see what this looks like here side by side. And the Pixel 6 front-facing camera, for some reason, just has a ton of noise in low light, and so hopefully Google can improve upon that. But you're probably seeing a ton of noise here, especially in this darker area from the Pixel 6 Pro. But I think that's going to wrap it up here for this camera comparison between the Pixel 6 Pro and Mi 11 Ultra. So let me know what you think of all the photos and videos that you've seen. Which one do you prefer and why? Personally, I still prefer the Pixel. I think from the ease of point and shoot and just the results and the processing that it has, it's looking really good to me. You get a lot of crisp detail. The Mi 11 Ultra, I think through some of the software updates, has improved. The shooting experience has been better. I've been getting a lot better photos first try. The minimum focusing distance hasn't been as much of a problem as it has been in the past. And I think the video is also looking pretty good, and of course the ultra-wide-angle lens on that probably does look better than the Pixel with that larger ultra-wide-angle sensor. But do let me know what you think of both of these phones. That's just my quick thoughts. Drop me a comment below and let me know which one you preferred. Also, if you have any other questions or comments about both of these phones, I'd be happy to answer what I can. As always, thanks for watching.